and today's topic is SAP FICO training overview and the career opportunities in FICO. So today's discussion agenda is something like this. We'll give a brief about Oswego Learning. Do a brief of introduction about ERP and SAP. We will give an overview of SAP FI module, overview of SAP CO module. We'll discuss about the course curriculum in FICO training and Oswego advantage. Why one should learn SAP FICO from Oswego Learning. So first, let us a brief about our organization, Oswego Learning. Oswego Learning is an initiative of PID Consulting LLP, which is our consulting wing, and we provide world-class training in areas of SAP, machine learning, AI, data science, etc. This company is founded by a group of senior IT professionals whose collective experience is more than 50 years. Our unique USP is the faculty members. Our faculty members are having more than 10 years experience uh, in each of the modules, and they are from MNC companies. We offer both classroom and as well as online training. Because of COVID pandemic, we are not able to conduct our classroom training at the moment. All our trainings are online. We have a dedicated placement team who work with our clients to fulfill their requirements, and thereby we also are able to place our students who pass out from our organization. There is a brief about our organization. Uh, Now let us discuss what is ERP and different ERP products. So as many of you know, is ERP is an acronym of Enterprise Resource Planning, and as the name suggests, the main aim of this kind of software, ERP software, is a planning of its resources. So some of the key activities a ERP software does is automate tasks involved in performing business processes. In any of the business functions that you can imagine, it might be finance, HR, production planning, inventory, sales, procurement, whatever department you can think of in an organization. So an ERP package essentially tries to automate the business functions which are supposed to be performed in these departments. It also integrates uh, the data flow between all these departments. So in a non-ERP environment, what happens is all these departments will have to have their own softwares. And what is the disadvantage of that, having different softwares in different departments? So main disadvantage is you need to maintain, say if you have different departments in your organization, you need to maintain five different softwares. Not only implementing that, there's a cost for implementing five different softwares. We'll also have to maintain all these softwares, and you need to employ some resources, at least five more resources, to manage all these different softwares. But the problem doesn't end here. The main problem is the integration of data, which means I'll give you a simple example. Say HR module, human resource module, one of their main activities is payroll processing, means salary processing. Now, suppose on first of every month, what HR department does, they do a payroll run, means which employee will get how much of salary. So they do the calculation. In a non-ERP environment, if the company does not have any system, they will have to do
Sorry to interrupt, Orindam. Your voice sometimes is breaking.
okay. Is it
Yeah,
clear now?
yeah, it is clear now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So coming back to what I was saying, so in a non-ERP environment, what HR department has to do, HR department will have to prepare a file with the employee details and how much salary he is supposed to pay, and then give that file back to finance team so that they can make the finance entries against all these employees and then process the payment. Because the uh, processing of salary payment of salary is responsibility of finance department, not the HR department. HR department calculates the amount of salary that the employee is supposed to get. The final disbursement has to happen from finance department. So there is a manual intervention. HR has to prepare a file and give it to finance department for payment. Secondly, another example is just sales. So throughout the month, a company has sold so many products and they have generated some revenues. They have given some discounts to customers and they have collected some taxes as well. In a non-ERP environment, again, the same problem arises that the sales information, whatever revenues they have collected, whatever taxes they're supposed to pay, everything they will have to pass on to finance department manually in a flat file or an Excel sheet, whatever. Then again, the finance department will have to enter that in their own software and then do a calculation and finally prepare a balance sheet out of that, right? So there's a lot of manual intervention, and there is a very high probability that the person who is doing this entry, he has missed one or two data, right? And that will not give us a correct information. Here comes ERP. ERP is an integrated software that eliminates all this manual intervention of passing on files, right? So whenever a sales department was created, automatically their GL account in finance department will be updated with all relevant information like say sales revenue, taxes, and all other components. So here is the importance of SAP. SAP integrates all departments in an organization so that data flow can happen smoothly. They all use the same database. So in practice, that means that employees in different division, for example, accounting and sales, can rely on the same information on their specific needs. And ERP enables planning of all resources in the sense main machine, materials, and money in the organization. So this is the advantage of a ERP system. Why one company should, if somebody asks you why one company should go for ERP, so these are your answers. So in a non-ERP environment, you need to depend heavily on manual activities, but with a ERP environment, having a ERP system, you don't need to do that. ERP system will do it for you. With this, let us discuss about ERP products that we have in the market. Obviously, SAP has the highest market share. We have Oracle applications. We have JD Edwards. We have Workday for HR. We have Infor. We have Microsoft Dynamics. We have BAN, and we have some local Indian products as well, like Ramco, Tally, and all. The picture at the right side shows you the kind of market share SAP is having in all of the areas. Like say SAP in enterprise asset management is having highest share. Financial management system again having highest share. Human capital management again having highest share. Manufacturing operations again having the highest share. So no other software is even closer to SAP's market share. Some more key facts about SAP. SAP stands for Systems, Applications, and Products and Data Processing. And this is, as I said, this is the this company as well as the name of the product is also SAP is having the highest market share in ERP market. So this is an European multinational company founded in 1972 by these four gentlemen. They are basically from IBM. SAP is the third largest software company in the world and is in market share in all these areas that I said earlier: enterprise resource planning, analytics, supply chain, human capital management. One interesting fact is worldwide SAP has more than 440,000 customers in 180 countries. SAP has 200 million users, and some of the SAP customers include 92% of the Forbes Global 2000 companies, 98% of 100 most valued brands all over the world, 97 of the percent of the greenest companies of the world. 77% of the world's transaction revenue touches an SAP system. If you are doing 100 transactions worldwide, 77% of those transactions will touch a SAP system in today's date. So this package, the net, what is the end result? This package makes it possible to track and manage sales, purchase, production, finance, or accounting, human resource activities in an organization in real time. There is no data lag between informations. Means whenever you are doing a sale, the next moment you go to finance, you'll get the updated information in finance module. You are doing a purchase and you are doing a goods receipt in your system, the next moment you will see the impact in finance module. You do not need to wait for a overnight batch process or a file update from other software. It's all real time. Uh, so that was all about SAP's history and what SAP does. Now coming to core software in the SAP system, we'll discuss about SAP conceptual areas. We have broadly three conceptual areas in SAP. One is application area where users work, where the business processes run. Means your sales and distribution, your finance, your materials management, your human resource. These are all application areas, or you can say business departments where SAP supports. So in SAP term, this is application area. The second area is called basis. Basis is nothing but the system administration. Starting from installing a software, installing the SAP software, then maintaining that software, maintaining its performance, creating user IDs. The users will work on SAP system, as well as giving them proper authorization to do their transactions. Everything is handled by basis team. So basis is a technical area that maintains the system, SAP software. And the other important area is development area. So SAP has given its own functionalities. Now any business might require something on top of that, whatever SAP has provided within the box. So SAP has given something, say one screen in sales order, wherein you might require to add few more information which is not available in the standard SAP system. Then we require help from technical development consultants. They are called ABAPers, who will do some code for us and who will prepare the system as per business requirement. So broadly, three conceptual areas, application areas, where all functional resources will work, basis, where the system administration, system installation will be done, and development area, which is most majorly ABAP, and there are some other areas as well. I'll come in the next slide. They will develop in a such a way that requires that fulfills the business requirement wherever SAP standard cannot support, right? So, what are the functional modules we have in SAP? And this comes under the application area that I spoke about in last slide. So, firstly, SAP sales and distribution, wherein all sales processes happen. Next is materials management, the procurement process of any business. If you want to purchase something, that will come under materials management. SAP finance and controlling, all your accounting, preparing of balance sheet comes under SAP FI, and controlling is the cost controlling. Your that helps us in internal management reporting. Means how they will control the cost, how they will understand the profitability on a particular segment. Everything is controlled in SAP controlling module. Then we have production planning. This is relevant for manufacturing companies. If we are producing something or manufacturing something in our plant, we require production planning module. SAP project system. If you are doing any projects, setting up a factory, your new factory in a new location. So starting from allocating budget for that project, then procuring the materials, scheduling the activities, finally closing the project. Everything is covered in SAP project systems. And human resource, as you know, human resource is related to HR department of any organization that takes care of your training, your payroll, your timesheet, your organization hierarchy. Everything is been taken care by SAP Human Resource Management. These are few of these modules which SAP supports, which are widely used. Apart from that, SAP has lots of other application areas which are wherein SAP has products. There are some other modules like customer service. There is a different product for SAP in customer relationship management and so on. There are more than 30-40 modules SAP is having. Technical modules. Firstly, I discussed about ABAP and Basis. ABAP is a coding language of SAP. Whatever development is done using ABAP code. SAP NetWeaver and Basis already discussed, system installation and all. SAP Enterprise Portal, if you need to create a portal uh, accessing some application via web page from SAP. SAP Enterprise Portal is the application we need to work on. SAP PIPO is required for integrating SAP system with any other third-party system. Suppose you have a SAP system as well as you have a say dealer management system which is a non-SAP, and you need to send your data from SAP to deal management system, wherein dealers can directly sell their invoice and so. So we will require a middleware system that pass on this data, an SAP PI. PI is a bit older version. It's called PO now. Process orchestration is the system wherein this work is done. SAP BW is for reporting. Whatever management report we do, we can do it directly in SAP. But for larger reports, for better visualization, we'll have to do this in BW system. Then SAP Fury. Fury is again a technical module and is relevant for SAP S4HANA system mostly. So SAP's UI has been changed drastically since S4 HANA has arrived. We do not need to go to SAP backend system nowadays for user transactions. We can do it by using Fury apps. So Fury apps is a revolutionized product, I would say, for SAP. So the user experience has changed drastically after Fury has come. And UI5 is the technology used behind creating this Fury apps. So this is all about user experience. So these are the major functional and technical modules SAP has. And with this, I'll start talking about discussing about finance, financial accounting and controlling, which is our main topic for today. So till now, I guess everything is clear. Okay. So, SAP Financial Accounting is a module which is used for financial reporting both externally and internally. So, FICO stands for finance, FI is finance, and CO is controlling. These are basically combination of two modules, which very normally we call it FICO and is covered in a single course, but these are essentially two different modules. The aim of these two different modules are different. So while finance part takes care of tax reports like your balance sheet, profit and loss account, CO part focuses more on internal reporting and costing, right? So FICO together takes care of your financial reporting both externally and internally. The objective of this module is to record all financial transactions that are posted by an entity and produce financial statements which are accurate at the end of the trading period, which means by end of each financial year we need to produce the balance sheets to our stakeholders and to external agencies, right? And for this purpose we need to accurately first record all our financial transactions that might be a sales invoice or that might be a purchasing of raw materials, purchasing of goods, taking services, whatever transaction you may think of, that might be purchasing of asset, valuation of assets, anything and everything that you can think of that comes under financial transactions should be recorded and also reported by end of each financial year. So the main aim of FICO module is that recording your financial transactions and producing the balance sheet and financial statements by end of the year. FI module is made up of various sub modules, and these are majorly I have jotted down here. First is general ledger account, in short we call it as GL. Accounts payable, this is treated as sub ledger, subsidiary ledgers. I'll discuss about this in subsequent slide. What is a sub ledger? Accounts receivable, accounts payable is a sub module or sub area wherein we uh, the activities related to purchasing are taken care, and it's all related to how much I need to pay to our vendors. Accounts receivable is just opposite. It takes care of the sales module. Whatever sales we have done, we need to take into account of that, and customers are involved in that. I'll get money from customers, so accounts receivable, I'll receive money from customers. Asset management. Any company will have a lot of assets. Assets might be your machineries, your office premises, your buildings, your vehicles, everything and anything that a company possesses will come under assets. So how these assets are handled in SAP system comes under SAP asset management module. Then tax on sales and purchases. Indian perspective, this has now changed to GST, goods and services tax. Then tax deducted at source, cash transactions and bank transactions. These are all covered in SAP FI module. So cash transactions, we are not concerned more about cash transactions, because when you are purchasing something on cash or you are selling something on cash, you do not necessarily need to plan for that, right? But for bank transactions, and 80% of the transactions in a B2B scenario happens on bank transactions, and mostly in a credit scenario, in a credit process, means you do not pay upfront. You first purchase the goods and then pay for it in a certain period. There's a payment terms agreement with all our vendors. Maybe after receiving goods, I'll have to pay within 30 days and so on. Similarly, your customers, whenever they buy from you, again they buy on credit. They will pay either in 30 days or 45 days as per the payment terms you have. And whenever they will pay, mostly they will pay either via bank transfer or check deposit, NEFT, IMPS, whatever means. Is very, in a B2B scenario, the cash transactions are very limited. Okay. So with this, first we'll discuss about what is a general ledger accounting. What are the topics on this general ledger accounting which SAP takes care of? So in order to generate any financial statements, the basic is you need to record your transaction, and transaction can be anything. Like for a very simple example, your salary processing. Once you are processing your salary, so what are the financial entries generated? Your salary account get debited, your employee salary account will get debited, and your bank account will get credited, right? So this is a very simple statement of a financial transaction. Now, how will you record this, or where will you record this transaction in SAP? The place where we'll record this in SAP is called a general ledger account. Right? This is kind of a placeholder wherein you record all your financial transactions. Now, the activities that are done in general ledger accounting are firstly preparation of chart of accounts. Chart of accounts is nothing but a umbrella concept, and which is linked with all GLs. Means first you need to create a chart of account in SAP system, and from that and next you need to create all the GL accounts, and all GL accounts will be linked to your chart of account. So in short, you can think the chart of account as a list of GLs. All GLs will be tagged to one chart of accounts. That is the first thing you need to do. Once you create your chart of accounts, then you need to create your general ledger account, and you need to mention, while you are creating the general ledger account, you need to mention which chart of accounts this GL account belongs to. Once your GL account is created, now you are all set to make your postings. Once the GL account, for say in the above example, you have two GL accounts you need to create. One is salary account, the other one is bank account. So once you have created these two GL accounts, you can start posting on this. So whenever you are posting a salary, now your salary GL account will be debited to bank account credited. So two GL accounts will be impacted. Before you go to implement a FI module in SAP from any of the in any of the companies where you have a traditional softwares, you need to first identify what are the different types of GL account you need to create. There can be numerous GL accounts. There can be GL accounts for revenues, GL accounts for discounts, GL accounts for taxes, GL account for TDS, GL account for salary, GL account for goods received, customer payments, vendor payments, and so on. There can be so many GL accounts exist in a organization. So, as a finance consultant, you need to consult with your business, and you need to identify what are the different type of GL accounts you should create in SAP system. So that is the first and foremost thing. You need to identify a chart of accounts. You need to create a chart of accounts, and this chart of accounts will have different properties like which currency will be there and so on. And after you create your chart of accounts, whatever GL accounts you have identified, you need to create that in SAP system. Then you should use that GL accounts in your transactions. And end of the year, you can easily create reports out of these GL accounts. End of the year, if you are supposed to prepare a statement that how much salary you have paid for employees in a particular region, you should be able to fetch that data from your GL account. Right? That is a brief about GL account. Moving forward, the next important topic is accounts payable. Accounts payable, as the name suggests, this module takes care of your payments. And when do you pay? Obviously, when you purchase something. So, activities related to purchase of raw materials and purchase of other items are recorded in this module. Accounts payable is treated as subledger. Now we'll come to a subledger concept. What a subledger is, right? Subledger, as I told you, subledger is short form of subsidiary ledger. Okay, so uh, given a example, like when you are purchasing raw materials, you can purchase it from so many vendors. You might have, if you are purchasing coal for your manufacturing plant, for your power plant in a manufacturing setup, you can purchase coal from various mines, various suppliers, right? You can have a supplier X, you can have a supplier Y, you can have a supplier Z, right? And say supplier X has a payment due which is of 1 lakh rupees, supplier Y has a payment due of 2 lakh rupees, and supplier Z has a payment due of 3 lakhs rupees. So these are your payable amounts. For X you need to pay 1 lakh, for Y you need to pay 2 lakhs, for Z you need to pay 3 lakhs. In total you need to pay 6 lakhs. Now subledgers are created under the main GL account. So in this scenario, what we need to do, we need to create a general ledger account called sundry creditors. Who all are our creditors, right? That is my master account, and within this, at subledger level, I will create my vendor masters. Means the number of vendors I will have, I will create that many number of subledgers, right? If you have 5 vendors, we'll create 5 vendor subledgers. Now whenever the posting will be done, the payment posting will be done, or financial transactions will be done only at subledger level. Means all the transactions related to vendor X will be done at the subledger for vendor X. Transactions for Y will be done at subledger at vendor Y, and for Z it will be done at subledger Z, right? And these all subledgers will be linked to my actual GL, which is sundry creditors. And if somebody wants to see, like a stakeholders, that what is my total value of creditors, how much total I need to pay to market, they will look at the sundry creditors GL level. They will not go into that individual subledger level. So stakeholder level, they will see only at GL level. And if somebody needs to see, like our internal finance department guys, if they need to see how much I need to pay to an individual vendor, then they will go to this subledger level, right? So GL is a superset of subledgers, and subledgers are a subset of GLs. So all transactions that are done at sub-ledger level are automatically transferred to GL level, sundry creditors in this case, accounts payable. So the activity, if I can summarize in a accounts payable level, is first to create a GL for sundry creditors, which is at the top level of all sub-ledgers. At sub-ledger level, we'll create these one vendor masters. All transactions on accounts payable will be posted only at sub-ledger level, and transactions at sub-ledger level will automatically get posted to the GL level, so that everybody at stakeholder level they can see the total value of creditors, right? This is a brief about the accounts payable process. Moving forward, these are some of the activities taken care in accounts payable, like creation of master data, in the sense your vendor masters, your sub ledgers, these are master data. Invoice processing, your vendor invoice processing. Payment disbursements, you need to obviously finally when all your transactions are calculated, how much you need to pay. Once you get the total value, you need to do the payment disbursements to your vendors. Accounts analysis and reconciliation, you need to reconcile that you are not paying more than whatever goods you have received, and then make your final payment. Periodic processing, periodically you need to do all these transactions. And finally reporting, you need to report whatever you have done throughout the year on accounts payable section by end of the year. Coming to accounts receivable is just the opposite of account payable. It deals about sales of finished goods and sales of any other item. These are all recorded in this module. Again, this is accounts payable is treated as sub-ledger. All the sales entries will happen at customer master level. So in accounts payable, our master sub-ledger level master was vendor, and in accounts receivable this is customer, because we are selling, we sell to our customers. So all sales transactions will happen at your sub ledger level at customer level, and that will be automatically um, posted to actual GL level, which is here sundry debtors. In case of payables, it was sundry creditors, and in case of receivable, this is sundry debtors. This is just the opposite cycle of accounts payable. The activities are similar to accounts payable. Firstly, we need to create a sundry debtor, a GL to be created as sundry debtor, and at sub ledger level, customer masters will be created. All transactions will be posted at this sub ledger level, at customer level, and whatever transaction posted at sub ledger level will automatically get posted to the main GL, which is sundry data. Sorry, I missed here. And end of the year, you can make a report either at your GL level, which is sundry debtors, or at your sub ledger level. If you need to check your records at each customer level, you can check at sub ledger level. So this was brief about accounts receivable. Moving forward, these are the activities we do in accounts receivable. We create our master data, which is again sub ledgers as well as customer master. Credit management, we maintain our credit data for customers. How much credit I'll provide to our customer is part of this accounts receivable process. Invoice processing, this is sales invoice processing. Cash receiving, and it's not payments, it's cash receiving. Accounts analysis and reconciliation, how much sales you have done vis-a-vis how much you have received from customers. Periodic processing, and finally reporting. These are also part of accounts receivable process. Moving forward, the other very important module is sub module is asset management. As I told earlier, the activities related to purchase, sales, transfer, scrapping of fixed assets are undertaken in this module. So whatever fixed asset you can think of in your organization, that might be your office premises, that might be your chairs where you sit on, that might be your computers, that might be the machineries used in factories, each and everything, whatever fixed assets you have, the life cycle of those fixed assets are managed in asset accounting. and asset accounting is again treated as subledger. So to understand asset accounting, uh, let me move a bit forward. So this is a picture where it shows how it works. So before we do asset accounting, first we need to create something called asset class. What is an asset class? Asset class is also a category of assets. Means say buildings, vehicles, machineries, your assets under construction, furnitures, and so on. These are broad asset class. Means you can have assets on these categories. You can have few more asset classes as well. Once you create your asset class, you can create your assets under this. For each of the assets, you need to create a asset master record. If you have four buildings in all over the country which you own, you need to create four asset masters for these four buildings under asset class buildings. If you have say 10 vehicles in your organization, you need to create 10 vehicle masters and under asset class vehicles. Similarly, for machineries, assets, and furnitures, you need to create asset masters with the same number as you have in your company. If you have um, 1200 say computers for your employees, you need to create 1200 asset masters under asset category say computers. So as in the previous slide we said that management is also treated as subledgers. So uh, all postings related to these assets will be done at this asset master level, right? At the subledger, asset master is created to record every asset separately. Asset class is created to know the total value of assets, and asset master is linked to asset class. All transactions like sales, purchase, scrapping, depreciations are posted to asset master. So suppose you have a machinery, suppose you have a um, plant machinery, a big ball bearing which is no more working, you have to scrap it or you want to sell it out, which means firstly you need to run a depreciation of that machinery. You purchase that machinery on a specific value, say 1 crore rupees. Now this asset is no more usable, you need to run a depreciation on that year on year. Say this asset has run for 10 years, so after 10 years what is its current value, and it's no more working. Based on that you need to run a depreciation. Maybe the depreciated value will come to 1 lakh or 2 lakh, whatever, just a approximate number. Once you calculate this depreciation value, you will obviously try to sell it out to a to a trader who trades on these scrap goods, metal items, and so on. So we will do a sales on that asset as well. So all these transactions, depreciations, the sales of that asset will be posted on asset master. Now similar transactions will happen to all assets you have. So if you have 10 such machineries in a year, you are running depreciation and you are selling it out. So all transactions will happen on asset master level and will be automatically transferred to asset class level. Right? Now, if you need to know that in this year how many machineries I have sold at which cost, you need to check at asset class level, because all different transactions on different asset masters under machineries will be automatically posted to asset class machines, and you can run a report out of asset class machine and you will nicely get a report on whatever information you require. Now from asset class it will get transferred to general ledger account and then balance sheet. So in the balance sheet information it will correctly show the current position of your assets. It is purchase value, how much was the purchase value, that will not come in balance sheet, but the current value of the asset will go to your balance sheet. Right? So all transactions in asset managements are done at asset master record, and finally it rolls out to balance sheet. So these are the three major areas of SAP FI module. Apart from that, as I discussed earlier, we had bank transactions, we have cash transactions, as well as taxation part, which we'll be discussing in the detailed class. Moving forward, now we'll discuss more about controlling area. What are the why a controlling module is required? Why not FI is sufficient? Why again we had to SAP had to give a new model called controlling? So till now, whatever we have seen is all whatever we have done in FI module are all relevant for our stakeholder reporting or financial reporting. That gives us uh, mostly profit and loss situation and balance sheets, which gives us the overall picture of the organization, how my organization has performed in last 1 year or so. Financial reports will give you that picture, but this will not give you the information where we went wrong and how we can take corrective actions. If I model reports, balance sheets and profit and loss accounts are the higher level, broad level reports. This will never give you a decision making scope that in this area I might have done better. Here comes the role of controlling module. What controlling module does, it checks specific information regarding your costing. Where my costs are going up. Obviously, if I can reduce my cost, my profitability will be increased. So controlling module, or some people say costing module, takes care of this cost part and bridges the gap. So whatever information internal management team requires to control this cost will be taken care in controlling module, right? And some of the features of controlling module, or that SAP controlling module is needed for internal management reporting. Data flows from FI module. That's interesting. So whatever financial transaction is done, the control cost control reports are based on that financial data only. This supports report at cost center level and profit center level. I will explain this in next slides how a cost center reporting, profit center reporting happens. Reports can also be drawn at internal order level, which are activity specific and based on projects as well. Also, this supports budgeting and planning. Starting of the year, you can do your budgeting. How much I'll budget for this particular activity or this particular department for this year, and the financial planning, how the money will come for this budget. This is done in controlling module. This can also compare by end of the year what is the actual data versus planned data. I have budgeted something, I have planned for that money, but what actually I have spent on that area. This can compare that, and based on the variance, suppose my actual spend was much higher than my budgeted spend. So based on this variance, or even my actual spend is lesser than my budgeted spend, and based on this variance, we can take corrective actions. We can do proper coordination with respective teams why this has not been budgeted correctly or spent correctly. We can monitor that spend. We can monitor that spend throughout the year, and optimization of all processes in the organization. Thereby, we can suggest all these respective departments that your spend in this area is higher, or your cost in this of production of this goods is higher because of your raw material cost is going high, or your power production cost is going high, so on and so forth. This controlling module can give the actual picture of cost to all departments in the organization, so that they can control on that, and finally we can make a profitable business. So main elements of controlling module are like cost center accounting, internal orders, profit center accounting, and so on. Now, what is a cost center accounting? What cost center accounting covers? Cost center accounting provides us cost center wise information on all costs incurred by the business. Now, how the cost center will be designed, it depends on the business. Mostly, businesses will design cost center based on departments. Say, if I have five departments: say marketing, sales, we have HR, we have IT, and say we have procurement. We have five departments. So, if I need to control cost or get an information on the cost spends on all these modules, all these departments in the organization, I will have to create cost center for all these departments. Say cost center for IT, cost center for marketing, cost center for sales, and so on. Right. So example is, say, salary is paid to IT department employees. So if I need to figure it out, I need to have a cost center for IT department and see all the salaries posted to that cost center. If I need to check the expenses paid for sales department employees, I need to have a cost center of sales department and then try to get a report out of it. So if you see the right picture of the right hand side, it says that the total salary paid is say 10 lakh of rupees. Now in finance department I have 30 employees, in production department I have 40 employees, in sales department I have 50 employees. Looking at this figure in the balance sheet, that I have entire year I have paid 10 lakh salary, this will not give me information how much I have paid in finance, how much I have paid in production, how much I have paid in sales. To get this information department wise, we need to have cost centers for finance department, cost center for production, cost center for sales, and then we'll be able to get correct information how much I have paid for this 30 employees in finance department and how much I have paid for 40 employees in production department and 50 employees of sales department. So we can segregate based on departments if we do cost center accounting. But at times management is not satisfied only at this level of information. They are not satisfied only with the information that I have paid 30 employees this much of amount in finance department. They might need to drill down expenses in greater detail, activity level. Say for example marketing department. So marketing department has created two marketing activities. One is the advertisement campaign, that is an expense, and also they have conducted an exhibition, there is also an expenses. Now if you do reporting at cost center level, so that is marketing department level, you will not get the individual cost, you will only get the total cost of advertising campaign as well as the exhibition campaign. But if you need to know how much I have spent on the advertisement campaign and how much I have spent at the exhibition, you need to do internal order level reporting. So here comes the role of internal orders. So internal orders provide means of tracking cost for a specific job, service or activity within a cost center. So internal orders can further drill down the cost reporting within a cost center. So within a department, activity wise, we can track the cost. So for example, cost of advertising campaign run by marketing department, cost of exhibition done by marketing department, and so on. So here comes the role of internal orders. Moving forward, profit center accounting. That is another major part in controlling area. Like cost center accounting, like cost center that takes care of department wise cost, profit center accounting also takes care of department wise profits. How? So in profit center, so in case of cost center, what happens? Only cost parts are posted. Only costs are posted. But for profit center, both revenue as well as cost, both are posted. So if I need to know that if my sales department is profitable or not, what is the way I can do it? So I need to see the total revenue of the sales department and total cost of this sales department, and my profit will be revenue minus cost. And if this is a positive number, I'll say that my sales department is a profitable unit, right? So uh, in a profit center accounting, the main difference from a cost center accounting is revenue and cost both are posted. We book revenue as well as cost for a profit center and do profitability analysis for the respective profit centers. For example, revenue collected against sales of products in sales department, cost of salary of sales employees, travel expenses, etc., etc. So the variance of these two means revenue minus cost will give you a profit. If this is a negative number, which means your sales department is not running nicely. It's a loss making unit. You are not making profit out of selling your product, but you are incurring losses. But that is fine. That's a very broad statement that my sales department is not profit making any profit. But I need to further analyze, drill down where is going wrong, right? So I need to further drill down at product level, at customer level, at sales district level, and other parameters you can think of where my profit is going loss, where I'm making more loss, so that my total profitability is going down. Here comes the role of profitability analysis. This will enables you to analyze profitability of market segments according to the below criteria. As I told you, products. So we can segregate product-wise profitability as well. Suppose you have three different products, but first two products are giving you profit, but this last product is giving you such a huge loss that your total profitability of the sales department is going negative. But until and unless you know that your this third product is resulting in your loss, you will not be able to rectify that. Only looking at the profit center, you will not be able to rectify that. So you need to look into your product level. Even at times this might happen that in a particular area you are making loss. At a sales district level you are making loss. Otherwise rest of the areas are fine. Some pockets you are making loss. So you can take a corrective action on those areas. Maybe you are not selling well in that areas, so you need to make some advertisement campaign, do some promotions in that area so that your sales boost up. You can take corrective actions based on this profitability analysis. If you are analyzing your profitability at these granular levels like products, customers, sales districts, and others. Right? So this is how profitability analysis works. Moving forward, these are the main areas of controlling module. Moving forward, in our course of FICO, we focus on SAP's latest version of S4HANA. Currently, we are following 1909 version, and this module will not only give you the idea of FICO, which was a part of ECC, but also the S4HANA finance course. So we'll first discuss about S4 HANA overview topics. What is S4 HANA? The navigation of systems. We'll discuss about different products under S4 HANA, logistics, human capital management, success factor. We'll discuss about embedded analytics. We'll discuss about Activate methodology, which is a new SAP implementation methodology. SAP does not work on ASAP anymore. They work on Activate, which is a revised version of ASAP, you can say. We will then discuss about FICO, the enterprise structure, the new GL concept, which is improved version of SAP FICO in S4 HANA. So we'll discuss about new GL concept. We'll discuss about accounts receivable, accounts payable, as we discussed in this session. We'll discuss about asset accounting. We discuss about controlling whatever areas we have discussed in detail. We'll discuss in the session. We'll discuss about cost estimation and financial statements. So these are our course contents. If somebody is interested, we can share the details as well over a separate email. With this, the very important thing is what will happen if I learn all these things in SAP FICO. What is the career prospect after the completion of the course? And most importantly, who can do this course? So for FICO, the prerequisite to have a finance background, either you will have to be a BCom, MCom, or ICWA, CA. You need to have some sort of FI knowledge before you can get into this course, because the topics that will be discussed in the class is mostly on finance. So there will be a very limited scope to revise the core finance theories. The person who knows finance can easily join this course, right? So the type of roles you can expect once you complete this course. One is SAP functional consultant. In the initial slides, we discussed about what SAP functional consultant does, but uh, to be more specific here, this functional consultants are the person who understands the business process from the business. They will first understand the business process from the business. They will design the system, design the SAP system in such a way that it supports the business requirements. So they are the main front end consultants who work with the business directly. Now, even in this functional consultant role, we can get two kind of projects. One is implementation project, and wherein you need to end to end design all the steps in finance and controlling area. You need to directly speak to the business, get the requirement. You will have to design the current business flows in SAP. You need to configure SAP system according to the business processes. And if somewhere there is a gap, means SAP is not able to provide that solution out of standard offering, so you need to write a specification, write a design document on that part of the functionality, and you need to take help of above guy and build that. You will test that and then send it for user testing as well. So this is the role of implementation, a functional consultant which who works in implementation project. Where in a support project, the role is a little different. So support project means SAP has already been implemented and the users are using that software already. In that, your main responsibility as a functional consultant is to provide support to users in the organization. As the users run the SAP system day in and day out, they'll find a lot of errors, lot of difficulties in running the softwares at times. So you need to analyze that problem and diagnose that and fix that. That might be a technical fix. If that is a technical fix, means you need to make some code change. You will have to take help from developers. If that is something can be done in configurations, means putting some tick, making some entries, that will have to be done by you. And also, suppose your implementation was done in 2016, already 4 years has passed. So business might want some new functionalities on top of what they currently have. As a functional consultant, again, your role is to get that requirement from business, design that in SAP system and implement that. It's more of a development kind of role, development kind of activity. So in support project, mostly two type of works you have. One is the small developments, enhancing your system as per business requirement, and secondly, supporting the end users on running their day-to-day activities. These are the main two roles in a support project. Uh, this was as far as SAP functional consultants are concerned. Now there are two more kind of roles in SAP environment. One is SAP super users. SAP super user or power users are having a bit more knowledge than the SAP end user who just runs the system on daily activities. They know the business as well as they know a bit of SAP system as well. So they can support end users on minor issues. Say master data missing, say GL account, some indicator is missing, uh, invoice is not posting to a correct GL account. They will help you to figure it out and so on. So they are called super users. They are users, but they have better knowledge than users, and they can support on minor issues. They are the bridge between the end user and the functional consultants. And the last set of role is SAP end user who does not have much knowledge of SAP, but our target is not obviously to work as SAP end user. Our target is to work as SAP functional consultant. But yes, there is a role of SAP end user. Suppose you're working in accounts department or finance department in your organization, and your organization uses SAP, you should know SAP end user transactions, how SAP works in all the business processes in AR, AP, banking, and so on, asset management, so that you can do your job efficiently. For that as well, end user rules are relevant. right? So in our course we cover all these three areas. If you go through this course, you'll be able to work as a functional consultant, you'll be able to work as a super user, as well as this will help you to perform better in your current role, in your current functional role, if you work in a accounts department or finance department in an organization where SAP system is implemented. Right, this was the career prospect after completion of this course, and the course duration is 35 to 40 hours, and this is spread over 3 to 4 months.
Excuse
We do.
me, voice is very much breaking.
Is it clear now? Hello.
Hello?
Now it is
Is,
clear, but sometime it is breaking actually. You can continue
okay.
now.
Okay. Okay. So as I said, the total duration of course will be 35 to 40 hours, and the course is spread over 3 to 4 months, and followed by a project work. After we finish your course, you need to do a project with us. That will give you the real-time experience of working as a implementation consultant in a project. Our class schedule is either Saturday or Sunday, once a week, 3 to 4 hours every week. Mode of training is online because of this pandemic situation, as I told you. Our faculty profile is leading FICO architect from industry, having 10 plus years experience in his domain. Uh, with this, I'd like to cover a bit more about audio learning's offerings and the training methodology we follow and the support we do to our students. Some other courses offered. So we offer courses on sales and distribution, production planning, PS, HRM, all courses on S4 HANA. We offer course on Ariba, C4 HANA. We offer courses technical in the technical areas like ABAP on HANA, Basis, PIPO, Fiori, UI5, BIBW. We train in all these modules. The first thing what we do is whenever a student approaches us for a training, we do a proper career counseling. We check their background, then we suggest the correct course which is suitable for him. We do not say, as I told you, that for finance course, the bare minimum requirement is the person should have some finance background. Will not suggest a person from sales to get into a finance course, right? So we do a proper counseling with our expert faculties, so they will understand what kind of training is required for that candidate. Then they will move ahead. We have the training methodology we follow is a hands-on training. Whatever we do in class, you need to practice that in our servers. We'll provide you server access. Our teachers, as I told you, all are 10 plus years of experience. We do a project work which is very critical. After you finish your project, you need finish your regular course, you need to do a project with us, and that project duration will be around 1.5 months, wherein all different module consultants will work with you. This will be an end-to-end implementation project. We'll share you a blueprint document. You need to prepare the in finance area. You need to design AR process, AP process, your asset management, everything you need to prepare. You will also see the integration parts with FI and SD, FI and MM in all the other areas. The SD guy will design the end-to-end FI sales flow from order to invoice, and whenever there is an invoice getting created, there comes a part of integration between SAP SD and FICO. You need to learn that as well, how integration between different modules happen. And the other advantage is knowledge interaction. We have a group of students and faculties or ex-students who are already working in MNCs and other companies. We introduce you in that group, and you can do a knowledge interaction with them. Whatever clarity you require on any of the topics you post on that group, you will get an answer. You don't need to wait for your faculty to come in the next class. Before that, you will be able to get your answer. Training materials. We provide three kind of training materials. One is first the gist, a PowerPoint presentation with the gist of the discussion on that class. We provide configuration document, how we will configure the GL part, how we will configure the AR part, AP part. Every configuration document will be provided to you. We'll give you end user guide, how a end user will run through the AP process. End to end process flow will provide you with the transaction codes. We'll give you 1,000+ interview and certification questions. If somebody wants to do a ACP certification after this, if they can go through that certification dumps and ebooks which will provide, you'll be able to clear that as well. We'll give you a real-time blueprint which was used in one of the implementations of a large organization, so that you understand what kind of documentation is done during an implementation project. We'll give you SAP Press, a real FICO ebooks, and also will give you provide you with real-time tickets which users face in different organizations in FICO module, so that you will have an idea if somebody will work as a support consultant in the organization in future, they will know what kind of tickets user normally raises and how to solve that. So this if you prepare on this line, you will be able to clear your interviews surely. Means we'll give you the idea about implementation project, we'll give you real time tickets, you know, to solve that, and you will have enough confidence to face the interview. Interview preparation, we do a professional grooming. Means the process is like the faculty who will take your classes will engage another faculty to first check your knowledge, how much you have learned, or if there is a gap in your learning. Based on that, he will prepare a revised plan that these are the areas where this candidate needs to groom up. As all our faculties are from industry, they are mostly in their interview panels in their own organization. They will give you the set of questions which interviewers normally expect, and the answers the interviewers normally expect from candidates. So once this grooming session is over, we'll prepare your resume, we'll help you in preparing your resume. We'll conduct mock interviews before your actual interview, so that you're confident enough to face the real interviews, and you'll be able to clear in very less attempts. These are some of our placement assistance program. We have placed our past students in, these are the some of the companies. This is a partial list of companies where our ex students are currently working. As in the initial slide I told you, we are part of our consulting wing, PRD Consulting. We do our own consulting, as well as we are partnered as recruitment consultant with some of the other companies. So we get recommends from other organizations as well, wherein we can place our students who follows all our end-to-end interview process, who completes the course, who does the project, follows our interview preparation process, clears the mock interviews. We send them for interviews to our clients, and we're able to get them placed. So that was all about Oswego Learning, Oswego Professional Network. As I told you, SMEs are there as a part of this group, and they will support you anytime you require any support on your during your learning, and even after that. Till now, our students who are working in different organizations, if they face any problem, they post in that group, and they get a solution to that. So it's a kind of lifelong journey, lifelong support we do to our students. And in the term, we also learn from students who are working in various organizations now. They do so many projects, so many scenarios they face, they post in this group on that specific scenario. We also learn, our students also learn, and this is a win-win situation for all of us. So with this, I'll end my session for now. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
May I?
Yes, please.
Yeah. If I'm right, yeah, SFE FICO, sorry, SFE S4 HANA is extension of FICO, SFE FICO, right?
No, it's not the correct statement. So SAP earlier we had a version called ECC. Okay, now also most of the companies work in ECC, but SAP has launched a revamped environment which is called SAP S4 HANA. The database has been changed, the application has been changed, but the core remains same. So
Okay.
SAP is not a it's a kind of new product you can say, but the core remains same. If you are working in SD, you need to know SD first, and then you can move to S4 HANA.
Okay. We'll be learning first ECC and then S4HANA, like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if you do not know your SAP basic FICO, you'll not be able to learn simple finance, which is a term in SAP S4 HANA.
Okay. Actually, I am based out from Bangalore. Uh, I'm not
Okay.
sure. I'm not attending that this course first time, and how convenient it will be online, and some
So
how
nowadays
it will
everything
be.
is online. We are conducting our online classes only. So the classes will be we do either on Zoom or on Google Meet, and you will be given a
Uh,
server which you can access from your home. So
uh,
that server is also online. You don't need to install anything on your laptop. You just need to have a good internet
uh,
connection. You should be able to access that server, and you can practice on that.
okay. Okay.
And it's all real
And
time class, no recording, nothing.
okay. And this job assistance usually for freshers, companies will not, they'll not take much interest in taking freshers. So I'm bit concerned about this. So after learning.
No, two things. Companies who doesn't take freshers are mostly MNC companies. If you go to TCS now, and if you do not have any experience, you say I'm a fresher, they'll probably not entertain you. But in those cases, you need to try for vendor companies first, right? Vendor companies do not
Oh,
care about your experience. They will just see that you can work. You have enough knowledge in this module, and then you should be able to work on the system. Once you get a good experience, say 1 year, 2 year with a vendor company, you should be able to now jump to a MNC company. That time you'll have to give.
okay. And you will be referring for the companies after the all the
Yes,
um,
after the completion
uh,
of the process I told you, we'll be referring to our clients, and our clients are there in Bangalore as well.
okay. Okay. Thank
You're
you.
based out of Bangalore, or you've gone there for job or something like that?
Yes, Bangalore, Bangalore.
Okay, okay, okay. Any other questions? Anyone is having any other questions? Karima, you have any questions? Okay. So Samira and Abhijit, if people are not having any other questions, should we conclude it?
Thank you, Arindam. Thank you for this presentation. It's a very good presentation. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thanks everyone for joining the session today. We'll have some other sessions next week as well. So please try to join our seminars. If even if you are not willing to join our course, that's fine. But you join these webinars, you will get more idea about SAP, different modules, what it works, how it works, for which background, which module is suitable. We'll be doing discussions on this. So feel free to join on the same link every Sunday 7 p.m. India time. Okay. Thanks a lot everyone. Thank you so much.
One minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If I want to opt for the course, so I should contact Argya, right? Argya Goa.
Arga Goa, yes.
Okay. When it is starting, sir?
So next FI course is starting next week only. Next Saturday.
Okay, coming Saturday. You meant to say.
Coming Saturday, yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone.